Okay, the next problem is the same as 62 pretty much. It's 64, and we are going to find everything you need to know for your quiz on this problem. The first thing we need to know is that where theta lives. This states here, that theta lives in alpha lives in quadrant 4, and beta lives in quadrant 2. Beta. Alright, and we need to find everything else. So, if sine of alpha equals negative 4/5, then cosine of alpha equals 3/5, based on your triples, and the fact that alpha belongs in quadrant 4. Cosine is positive in quadrant 4. Alright, and then for cosine of alpha, well, let's do sine first, keep it straight. So, sine of beta equals 12/13, and cosine of beta is negative 5/13. That's because beta lives in quadrant 2, and sine is positive in quadrant 2. And from here we fill in all the formulas. So again, you might want to write these down so you know where the numbers are coming from when we do the formulas. Alright, so we have sine of alpha plus or minus beta equals sine alpha cosine of beta plus or minus cosine of alpha sine of beta. I wrote down my numbers earlier, and I know that sine of alpha is negative 4/5, cosine of beta is negative 5/13, plus or minus cosine of alpha is 3/5, and sine of beta is 12/13. Alright, let me just multiply those two. Alright, so we get 20/65 plus or minus 36/65. So sine of alpha plus beta equals 56/65, and cosine of alpha, not cosine, but sine of alpha minus beta equals negative 16/65. And again, you might want to write these down because we're going to use these for our tangent. Okay, I wrote mine down. So next we're going to move on to cosine. Cosine of alpha plus or minus beta equals cosine of alpha, cosine of beta, minus plus sine of alpha, sine of beta. Use principal substitution, and we know that cosine of alpha is 3/5, cosine of beta is negative 5/13, minus plus sine of alpha is negative 4/5, and sine of beta is 12/13. Alright, you can do it that way if you want. And this is negative 15/65 minus plus negative 48/65. So we have cosine of alpha plus beta is going to be 33/65, and cosine of alpha minus beta equals plus a negative, that's going to be 63. So negative 63/65. I'm going to stop real quick and write these numbers down. Okay, I wrote my numbers down, and now we're going to use these numbers and the ones on the previous slide to do tangent. So for tangent of alpha plus or minus beta, I'm just going to use the information I already have. I already know sine of alpha plus or minus beta, and I also know cosine of alpha plus or minus beta. So for tan of alpha plus beta, That's going to be sine of alpha plus beta over cosine of alpha plus beta. And that's going to be 56 over 65 divided by 33 over 65. These two numbers cancel, and we get 56 over 33. And now we have to do the subtraction. The difference of alpha minus beta, that's going to be sine of alpha minus beta over cosine of alpha minus beta. You just write your two numbers down, which is negative 16 over 65 divided by negative 63 over 65. These two cancel, and the negatives, two negatives make a positive when you're dividing. So my answer is going to be 16 over 63. Okay, and the last set we're going to do, well, the next set we're going to do is the double angles. The double angles mean we're going to use all beta this time. So sine of 2 beta, cosine of 2 beta, and tan of 2 beta. And for sine, there's only one formula. That's 2 sine of beta times cosine of beta. There's one of 4 formulas you can use. I'm going to use cosine squared of beta minus sine squared of beta. And for tangent, I'm just going to divide sine of 2 beta that I get here over cosine of 2 beta, where I get from here. So I'm going to just use my formula. Sine of 2 beta equals 2 times sine of beta equals 12 over 13. And cosine of beta is negative 5 over 13. So that's going to equal negative 120. This equals, I'm doing this in my head, this equals 60, or negative 60 times 2. And go back. So that would be 169. And cosine of 2 beta equals 2 times, no, not 2 times, sorry about that, equals negative 5 over 13 squared minus 12 over 13 squared, which gives me 25 over 169 minus 144 over 169. And it looks like, I think we did this one earlier. That's going to be 25 minus 144 is 119, or negative 119 over 169. So we have our sine of 2 beta, and we have our cosine of 2 beta. Therefore, our tan, oops, this is a 2, of 2 beta, is we're just going to take this one, divide it by this one, and that's going to give you negative 20 over negative 119, which equals 120 over 119. Okay. Okay, I saved the half angles for last. They're a little more complicated because you have to check out, you have to divide the domains by 2. So we know that sine, let me look at the book. Let's go here. We have to do sine of, not out, what are we doing on this one? We're doing alpha on this one. We're going to do alpha over 2. We know alpha belongs in quadrant 1, but we have to determine where alpha divided by 2 is. And you divide everything by 2, it still belongs to quadrant 1, because this is 45 degrees here. I'll change that. And since sine is positive, we're going to use the positive formula. That's going to be 1 minus cosine of alpha over 2, which is 1 minus, what is cosine of alpha? Is 3/5 over 2. We're going to change this to 5 over 5 because that was 1. 5 over 5 is 1. And we're also going to multiply this. So basically what we're doing is we get 5 minus 3 over 5 divided by 2 is the same as the square root of 2 over 10. And we can write this as square root of 2 over the square root of 10. When we rationalize it, the denominator, we get square root of 20 over 10. No more radical in the denominator, but we still have this issue here. And we know that square root of 20 is the same as 4 times 5. And the square root of 4 is 2, so we pull that out. And then when we simplify, 2 goes into 10 5 times. We get root 5 over 5. Okay? Now we have to do cosine of alpha over, not alpha, but beta this time, over 2. Now we know our formula is plus or minus square root of 1 plus cosine of beta over 2. However, my beta lives in quadrant 2, so we have beta is in between 90 degrees and 180 degrees. Now if we divide, since we're looking for beta over 2, we divide everything here by 2 to find out where my half angle lives. And it's going to live between 45 degrees and 90 degrees. So my beta over 2 is now in quadrant 1. Therefore, we're going to use the positive, and we're going to take that away. So it's only positive here. After this, we're just going to fill in the formula. 1 plus cosine of beta is negative 5 over 13 all over 2. I'm going to write this as 13 over 13, and that's going to be a minus there. Minus 5 over 13 divided by 2 gives us square root of 8 over 26. If you break this up like this, it's easier if you go ahead and rationalize this number, which is going to be 2 root 2 over 26, square root of 26. Rationalize it. So we get 2 root 52 over 26. Now, can we break down 52? Well, I know 4 goes into that. 4 goes into that 14 times. 4 times 14, let me see. 4 times 14. Nope. It's not 14. So, let's see. Let's see. 52 divided by 4 is 13. So I change that to 13. That equals 52. So what we get is 2 times 4 times 13 over 26. And let me erase this part. Square root of 4 is 2, so that's going to be 4 root 13 over 26, which equals 2 root 13 over 13. There's probably a little easier way to do that, but I did it the long way. And the last one we're going to do is tangent. So tan of beta over 2 and that is 1 minus cosine of beta over sine of beta. It's a pretty simple formula. 1 minus cosine of beta is negative 5 over 13, and sine of beta is 12 over 13. So this equals 13, I'll write it 13 over 13 plus 5 over 13 over 12 over 13. The 13s here are going to cancel. So you get 18 over 12. 3 goes into both of those. Actually, 6 does. I'm going to make it easier. 6 goes into both of those. 3 over 2. And that is it.